Hi everyone, it's Michelle Lightworker here and welcome to Enlightened Conversations. I have a wonderful guest joining me today, Jessica Reid, all the way over from New Zealand. Now I love New Zealand and I'm really looking forward to hearing more about Jessica. We happened upon each other in Facebook and I love the land of Facebook because it really helps, we just talked about it before coming on air actually, that it allows people to really see you and if you allow yourself to be seen, and it allows them to go, well, you know what, I really want to plug into that vibration. And that's how Jessica and I happened upon each other, which I think is absolutely beautiful. And it's a great testimony to the law of attraction. We were just joking about a joke about the law of attraction just then, so bum, Jessica. But to formally introduce Jessica to you, Jessica Reid is a global clairvoyant, channel and purpose fulfillment coach. I love that, purpose fulfillment coach, sharing her purpose, gifts and message with the world through her online purposeful business. Jessica connects and communicates with her guides and many other light beings within her services to bring through enlightenment, which they're passionate about, insight, information, guidance and empowerment from the high dimensions to the human consciousness on a personal and collective level, which I love because, you know what, it might begin about me and my consciousness, but then if we get conscious enough, guess what happens? It turns into, it's all about us guys. So welcome, Jessica.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited for our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. And like I said, like the breast preparation. Sorry. No, the best preparation I think is just being ourselves because, you know, we do this every day and creating a space for spirit to come in and talk through us is what we do. So it's kind of cool that I always love sitting down having a chin wag with a clairvoyant channel because it's just lovely. It's just who I am and what I'm about as well. So welcome.
Thank you so much. What would you like to talk about?
Well, you know what? The big thing that just jumped out at me when I was actually introducing you was definitely the word purpose. I remember or purposeful, whatever you want to call it, both. I feel for me, I did this. I channeled through the Lightworker practitioner training many moons ago. And then when I was putting it online, Spirit said to me, you know what, we need to give people a meditation that connects them at the end of the first level and the beginning of the second level to have as in their toolkit. And guess what the meditation was called?
Purpose fulfillment? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was actually called On Purpose. Like
right, awesome.
I like how Spirit does the little puns, boom, boom, like on. But, you know, it is about that. I think we set our intention to navigate where we want to go. And even though we don't perhaps have the concrete form of it, the intention behind it is still extraordinarily real. And I think understood that because I hear a lot of people talking about, I'm anxious, I don't know what I'm meant to do, I feel a bit of depression, I'm not sure I feel lost. You hear a lot of that stuff going on, don't you?
Yeah.
So I guess what are your words of wisdom to help them find that purpose that they need to find?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the biggest thing is that because say with the Purpose TV series that I run, you know, I interview other people who are fulfilling their purpose and, you know, on their path as such. You know, the biggest thing that everyone will bring forward is that they didn't know it all from the start. They didn't know how it was all going to evolve, how it was all going to look, or the kind of, you know, dot to dot information or details, you know. They just knew how they felt in their soul as to what they wanted to bring to the world and trusted that if they took the first step that the unveiling of how it would all kind of manifest would come about, you know. And that it's all about really taking that first step to create the momentum. It's almost like when you take that first step, you're communicating with your spirit team, the universe, you know, the whole collective consciousness, I'm going in this direction and I'm committed to it, whether I know how it's all going to look or not, because deep down the most important thing is that this is what my soul wants to do. This is the direction that I'm feeling guided towards, pulled towards, and inspired towards. And then that like activates something in the universe, the collective consciousness, you know, all that is to show up for you, because you've shown up for the first step, so that's going to all show up for you, and it all kind of folds in that way. And I always trust that whatever you feel passionate about or drawn towards it, or that you feel is like your zone of your genius, that you're just really good at naturally, to really tap into that, even if you don't know how that could, you know, I feel like a lot of people want to know, how could that be an online business, or how can that be, you know, things like this. And I'm like, just don't worry about all that stuff right now. Tap into that channel where you're letting it through, into that zone where you're activating it, because it will show you how it wants to unfold. Sometimes thinking of it like an entity of its own, being like, okay, if you tap into it, embody it, it's going to show you how it wants to unfold, because it already knows the bigger plan, you know.
Oh yes, totally. And you know, like this morning, I was I've been doing a lot of work towards things in a certain direction. I felt like I really had. I was, you know, when you're waiting for the next sign, or you're waiting for the next little bit of information, and you think, is there something more I could do here? Because I'm I'm not sure. Is there something more? Like, it's just like a curiosity, like, what more I should be doing? And sometimes, you know, and the answer I got this morning was, no, you're doing everything that you need to be doing right now. Don't overthink it. And I was like, okay, really? Yeah, really? So it's like, okay. And I think sometimes trusting that what we're shown to do is enough is really important. I think where we get tripped up is often our fears come into play. And it's like when we feel attached to a certain outcome, like something's not delivered itself on time or in the way we want it to, or something, we start to lose faith. I see that happen with people. Do you see that happen when they kind of have an attachment to an outcome and it doesn't happen? Money, you know, or success, or it could be anything really.
Yeah, but you can see how it's like the mind's disappointed, or the mind is kind of trying to analyze it, work it out, because the mind was like, oh, I want it to look like this, and then it analyzes it like it doesn't look the way that I thought it was going to look, so something's wrong. But if you can feel that silent space within your soul, that's kind of just like at peace, or not stressing out, or not feeling out of discord, you know, there's just a silent peace in your soul that's like, this is just the way it's meant to be, you know, it'll all come about in its divine timing. I think that's the best thing to really tap into, because the fears and everything are just really like the mind going blah 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 blah, like trying to take over.
Yeah, because like when I was having my little conversation this morning with my guides about what I could do, you know, that they said, are you still okay with the slow reveal, Michelle? You know, because we have to think about, it's okay to embrace the slow reveal. You know, you don't need to see everything in order to feel safe. You can allow us to have the vision and hold the vision for you. You don't have to have vision. You can just focus on what you're doing and have the vision within what you're doing right now, so that we can hold the bigger vision for you. And they were a bit cheeky, and they said, you should be still okay with the slow reveal, Michelle. I was just like, no, maybe like more.
Yeah, and that's like their mind going, just like the conditioning going, like I have to always be doing something, or if I've got this big vision, I always have to be working hard, and working hard involves like action and physical contribution and things like that. And I think you'll probably agree that a lot of what we're learning lately is the more that we can just be and play in the embodiment of our soul and our soul's purpose and the divine timing, you don't really have to do a lot. Like, you don't actually have to be doing much. It's just more a being and allowing yourself to be inspired, and then only do what actually feels inspired, only do what actually feels good. I think it's a big sign that if you're trying you know, it is natural to think, if you've got a big vision for your purpose, it is natural to think that I'm going to have to work hard and it's going to take a lot of hard work. But I think if you're doing all these actions that feel like you're hustling or grinding at something, and, you know, you're feeling like you have to work way into the middle of the night, something's not right, because your mind's taken over, the doing and the action is taken over, and the being has kind of subsided in a way, you know, like the actual being of it and the playfulness and the inspiration can't get through when you're focused on the doing. So I think that's awesome that we're very kind of on a similar path at the moment, in terms of the guides just being like, you don't actually have to do a lot. Like, it can actually be this easy, because I'm sure you also have that thing of sometimes you're like, oh, I've done everything today that was kind of needing to be taken care of, and can it really be this easy? Like, can I really have this much success and ease and abundance without actually feeling like I'm exhausted? You know, and you guys are just like, that's actually how it's supposed to be. You know, like, the humans have got it a little messed up, thinking that you have to work so hard to get certain things, but you actually have a you know, birthright, a blueprint to enjoy life and to have it good, and to allow the universe to support you. So that's a really interesting process, huh?
So interesting, because I was having a conversation with one of my helpers, and and she'd sent me through a really long email of all these things that we needed to, well, not needed to focus on. They're on our list of things that that will really be beneficial to what we're doing. You know? Yeah. And I only felt guided to focus on one thing. Like, and we had this conversation yesterday. And it was so wonderful just to go, yeah, let's make it easy. Let's just focus on this thing. And you know what? I reckon once we do that, we'll just have all this time, and then we'll just go, yeah, let's focus on that thing that's really, that thing's going to be really interesting now. But I think if you look at the list and you go, oh, look, all these things that we could do, which would be great. Like, they're all good projects in themselves. Which one's calling? Which one's really calling? Yeah. I think that's really important to really have that. I like the silent peace of the soul. I heard you say that, and I really like those words, because when you're dropping into that place, that's the place that's going to say that next thing on the list is the thing you need to do. And then it makes it easy and fun and light. Whereas if we're looking at listening, they're all good, they're all important, let's go. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't probably be fun to do any of it, because we, you know, even though we're all and interesting to begin with, it just kind of mucked it up. So I'm really hearing you. I like it.
Yeah. And I love how, like, as a collective consciousness, you can actually observe this, let's say, movement that's kind of been happening, especially with the kind of rising of the feminine empowerment or the feminine energy, because it's kind of gone in a way where, you know, we can look at back at old days where women didn't work, and, you know, they were housewives and the men earned the money and things like that, and how now it kind of got into the space where it's like the rise of the female entrepreneur, and you know, women, you know, going out in their own businesses, making their own money and all this kind of stuff. And then it got to this point of like, and it's still existing currently, but it's transitioning, is it got to this point of like, you know, being a female entrepreneur and hustling and being like the boss and being, you know, the one that can do it all and the superwoman and everything like that. And now it's kind of just easing into the space of like the rise of the goddess energy, where it's really like that, but balanced out. It's like you can be in your feminine goddess, you know, be in your gifts, your purpose, your light, your genius. You can have the empowerment of being say like a feminine or female entrepreneur, and have your own thing that you're contributing to the world and make your own money and be abundant and things like that. But you don't have to grind yourself to the stone and embrace and be in such a masculine space to do that, if you know what I mean. Like, can you feel that too? It's like it's been a rise And then it's gotten to the point of, you can see that a lot of women are getting exhausted because they're almost like they're rising in their feminine, but then the masculine is taking over. It's like, and they kind of get to that point of exhaustion. And now it's kind of just all balancing out into the space of this real kind of goddess energy of like, you can do all that, but with a sense of grace and ease. You can still be in your feminine of taking care of yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. In fact, on the 6th of January this year, I attended an event in Brisbane, in Australia, and it was a film night called Femme, Women Healing the World. All a documentary about exactly what you just said, is that, you know, where there may have been a patriarchal society in the beginnings of that domination of energy, and then women sort of stepped up and went, hang on, equal rights here, but then they took it too far and they disconnected from the actual feminine energy that we're talking about,
and took into the masculine.
And then that's not the answer to be a matriarchal society, or, you know, a society that's quite patriarchal, that's run by women. I mean, it's not the answer. So, you know, and then went on to say it is about embracing that energy that we're talking about of the feminine, all of us, men as well. And so we're balancing that feminine and masculine energy in ourselves. And I like it so much, I actually signed on to produce 5 movies with the Emmanuel Etier, who's the Hollywood-winning director and producer, with Sharon Stone, of that film. I know, because I felt so passionate about it, sweetheart. You asked me if I resonate. Seriously, that night I was just like, this is exactly what this is about. Like, it's all about balancing the polarities. I mean, have you seen my logo? My logo, Lightworker Reflections, is actually the flower of life, but it's got the yin yang in it. And it came to me about 2010. It came to me. I was actually on a walk with my husband, and I was talking about creating a logo, and it just like appeared in front of me. It was the flower of life, which is absolute unity, to connect to everything. And then it's this yin and yang and the flowers, the colours reversed in the flower, you know. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. That's just, you know, sums up exactly what I believe in. I'm a really big believer in the light and the darkness being integrated into the experience. I feel like there's a lot of poo-pooing on the darkness, but I feel like it's the light. So, you know, I come from that angle with things. I know there's, you know, I think it's important to not stand up on the darkness.
Yeah, I get what you mean too. It's like the way I kind of look at it is like you would say, poo-pooing on the ego. You know, it's like there's been for so long this whole thing of, you know, if you're spiritual, you don't have any ego, and then if you're spiritual, the ego is bad, and let's make it a real negative thing, all this kind of stuff. But I think a lot of people are realizing these days is that, you know, there's a total balance, like a yin yang, between the ego and the spirit, the soul, and that they each serve a very different purpose, but they each serve a purpose in the sense of our soul, our spirit, our energy forming in a physical manifestation in this physical dimension. And so, you know, like I always say to people sometimes is, you know, if I didn't have an ego or something that was taking care of my survival, or, you know, taking care of things that could hurt me or could put me in danger, which sometimes represent as fears, you know, if I was just in my spirit, I'd probably be off meditating and you know, like I wouldn't have a roof over my head, or I'd cross the road and get hit by a bus, or I'd hear, you know, stuff like that, because it's like there needs to be that balance of like grounding us here in the physical dimension and taking care of our physical bodies and our survival, so that our soul, our spirit can continue life here, you know, because we are in a physical world where things bump up against one another, or you know what I mean. It's like the ego looks out for that, and the ego makes sure that you eat food and you know, it fears things that are out of your safety to a degree, just all kind of things. It's like they're both in their zone of their genius, they're both purposeful. Just because they're very opposite sometimes doesn't mean that the ego is bad. So I love how you also you know, acknowledge that yin yang between, you know, the darkness, the light, the ego, the spirit, whichever you like to call it.
Yeah. Did you see my post on Facebook this morning?
No.
Oh, no, really? Should I read it?
Yeah, sure.
So funny we can do this. Okay. It's so funny. I love it. I love that we're talking about this. You haven't even read my post. So I said, I'm just trying to find it. Okay. Oh, yeah, no. Okay. Don't beat up on the ego. It's the part of you that needs to be loved the most. It's also the part that will create the most chaos when you abandon it. Love it, listen to it, nurture it, transform it, enlighten it. Enlighten it. When a transformed ego is your ally, you can do great things to unite rather than divide, connect rather than segregate, and you will see all as equal with the inner light we are all born from. This is unity consciousness. Connect with you in order to create a planet that connects free of immoderate ego.
I love that. Yeah. And I kind of like, I understand when people say, you know, oh, the ego is that which divides us, or kind of does all these things in terms of society and stuff like that. And it's like, I think that's more like, you know, the ego has been taken and then it's been put on overdrive through, like, you know, it's been inflamed, or do you know what I mean by that? It's this whole society and conditioning and everything like that has kind of inflamed it. But really, like, if you just look at the core values of the ego, which is to have survival in this human world, it's not as bad as we all kind of make it out to be. And you can,
well, I mean, if you look at the ego like a narcissistic baby, you know, it wants to be fed, it wants to be taken care of, it wants to be loved. There's nothing wrong with that, and nothing wrong with babies. But babies, you know, like, they need to be taken care of, and if they're not taken care of, they'll really have their way with screaming and creating massive attention and drama that is actually not really required. I mean, if we're taking care of it, it's like what we deny, we create. I believe we create an immoderate expression of that which we reject. So if we embrace it and understand it and love it, we only see what we don't understand. So if we can find a way to understand it and have a connection with it from that space, that's when the transformation occurs. Because then it goes, oh, I'm okay. Oh, it's okay to be loved. Okay. Oh, it's okay to care about myself. Oh, that's good. Okay. There's no, look at me over here, look at me. Oh, I need more attention, or I need to be the president of the United States, and, you know, like, whatever, you know, doing immoderate behaviour that for attention. So I think that society's, I think spirituality is an interesting thing, because I think sometimes spirituality, people misrepresent it. They think it is to be pure. They think that it is to be good. But my feeling on spirituality is to be connected, and it's to love that which you really feel that you cannot stand, and you find a way to love it and to embrace it, and you find a way to make peace with it. Because if you don't, then you're disconnected. And when you're disconnected, that's when you lack the spiritual connection, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I love how you say that in terms of, you know, the way I see it is that there's been an evolution of, say, spiritual teachers and things like that, and it's evolved in such a way now that it's very different to say the previous paradigm, where like you're saying, there's kind of like a misrepresentation of spirituality, because it was very much focused on, even though the spirituality was meant to be positive, there was so much focus on what is negative, or what is negative energy, or what's, you know, the ego being bad, or how can we, you know, take ourselves away from all these things and resist all these things and protect ourselves from all these things, rather than actually focusing on being the light, the positive, the, you know, the high vibration. Just kind of like a simple example that I have, that not everyone agrees upon, but my thing is, I've heard previously, you know, so much about in terms of spirituality and having gifts and things like that, is, you know, you have to protect yourself from negative energies,
Yes.
and I don't do that.
Oh
I don't
God.
like it.
So good, because I'm not kidding. Before you just started, Spirit just said to me, not kidding, Spirit just said to me, the best protection is integration. And it's so interesting that I didn't even know what topic you were going to talk about. I'm thinking, okay, we're obviously resonating on this one time. I'd love to hear your take.
Yeah, because like because lots of people have told me, you know, in the past year, their whole thing of, you know, because you have these gifts and because you can connect with spirits and you can pick up on, you know, mediumship and things like that, you have to protect yourself. You need to protect yourself. It's number one importance that you protect yourself. And every time I heard that, even when I was just kind of reintegrating with my gifts and things like that, I was just like, oh, ick. Like, this is just, like, and whenever people would try to put that on me, I was like, oh, okay, goodbye. Like, you know, just was not feeling it. And, you know, I practiced it for a little while and things like that. And, but I got to this point where I was just like, oh, like, it's kind of, it actually came up on the Abraham channeling this morning, is if you think of it like a radio frequency, you know, a dial, you attune yourself to the high vibrations, you tune yourself to pure source, pure spirit, the higher beings. That's what you'll get. You don't need to, you know, if you relate it to a radio, if you tune yourself to 97.5, you don't have to worry about defending yourself from 91.2. It can't reach you, you know. And people come up with this excuse like, oh, the lighter you are, the more they're drawn to you, like a moth to a flame. And to me, I'm just like, oh, bullshit. Like, I just don't resonate with that at all. And it serves people for their beliefs, and that's where I'm like, okay, that's cool. If it makes you feel good and it serves your belief, I don't, like, there's, you know, everyone is by their own beliefs and it's all serving everyone. But just for me personally, it's that old paradigm of fear, but now it's more of a paradigm of like actually being a master of your own energy field, being master of your own experience. And if you can attune yourself with those high vibrations and those high energies, you don't worry about anything else, because you're not even in their vibrational vicinity or frequency or wavelength. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, look, a really good practical example of this, because when I was a counsellor, I specialised in multi-addictions, and I specialised in helping a lot of people through love addiction. So they were really addicted to relationships, and these relationships were usually awfully abusive as well. So you had the love addiction, and then you had the domestic violence part, but it was all part of the same cycle. And, you know, they loved the person, they were so addicted to the person, but then they couldn't leave because you know, they knew they were dependent, and they knew it was, you know, toxic, and they knew there was a lot of drama, a lot of cycles and things like that, but they couldn't leave. And the example I'm going to give you here that will help, I think, a lot of people to understand this is the same thing on a different level. We're talking about spirituality, but it's exactly the same. It's absolutely impossible for you to leave a relationship that's abusive or that you're love addicted and dependent on if you haven't developed a connection with your own inner light and power. You will continue to come back to that particular relationship. If that relationship is taken away from you, you will immediately find very quickly another dependent relationship to slot yourself into. And the reason for that is because if we deny our light, we don't have the strength to leave. The other component of that is that by denying our light, what we're effectively doing every single day, every single minute of the day in that relationship is we're abusing ourselves. So technically, if we look at this like integration of the shadow, we have attracted the perfect person to demonstrate how abusive we're being to ourselves internally. And so we can leave something we haven't learnt yet. So
Yeah.
this, yeah. So that when you take it to that level of what we're doing, where you're working with people who have disowned their shadow, if you haven't actually integrated your own shadow, chances are you're not lifting. No matter how many vibrational energies that you're calling in, you're not lifting if you're denying the chains that are attached to your legs. So there are real opportunities to say, well, of course, if I'm having a challenge integrating higher vibrational frequencies, I've got to actually allow the higher vibrational frequencies to support me in integrating and understanding and reconnecting with those vibrational frequencies that I need to learn from, that I haven't quite integrated yet. So I didn't go around protecting myself. The best protection is integration, and the best protection is invocation, like invoking those higher energies. And I don't know if you know much about me, but back in 2005, when I channeled Lightworker practitioner training, Archangel Michael channeled them through me. It was a spiritual assignment. He said, turn up, deliver the training. Anyway, so I did that, and it was based on 12 principles. And at the time, I didn't realise it, that they were higher vibrational frequencies, although I could feel the energy, but didn't kind of match. I didn't kind of get it. Now I understand that they're all universal higher vibrational frequencies, totally accessible to everybody. And I live and breathe by them. And if there's anything that's like love, unity, peace, joy, open-mindedness, forgiveness, there's 12 of them, right? So if I'm coming up against a barrier in myself around one of those principles, of course I'm going to attract someone to give me the lesson so I can integrate it. And I don't actually think I should be protected from that. I don't think I should be protected from lessons. We don't need to be protected from lessons, do we? I mean, that's essentially what we're saying. Oh, protect yourself. You don't want to learn. You don't want to learn how to integrate that. Isn't that true? Isn't that what people are saying?
You can call it a blessing.
Yeah.
A blessing.
Yeah.
The blessing in a lesson.
I love that, blessing in the lesson. I say that most of our gifts come in really weird packaging.
Yeah.
Often really ugly and horrid looking packaging. Like, there can't be a gift in that, but there is,
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you come upon coming into purpose work? Like, have you, you look quite young. I mean, I'm young. I'm young, but I'm really old, so I'm not going to presume anything that you're young, old, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But I'm young, so I'm just
I'm 24.
Yeah, you're young, man.
But some people look at me and go, "Are you 17?" And I'm like, "Probably still."
All my life, honey. I've had that all my life. It's kind of interesting. I was 13 and I looked 18, and then I hit 18 and stayed there for many years. Which is like you. You're 16, you're 24. It's like, So I'm not 20. I'm 40. I'm 47 in a couple months.
Wow,
so 20,
beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm very
in your 30s.
Yeah. A lot of people say that. So you're so young, but you're in it so early. This is exciting. So what led to these choices?
It's interesting because just before we got on our call, I actually decided to record a video about my journey in terms of how I've kind of gotten to this point in my life and where it's all come from and things like that. And just to kind of recap it really quickly would be, I had the gifts ever since I was born, and, would interact with spirit and source and receive messages and visions and things like that. Was very aware of the energies in my house. I was going to say home and house at the same time, and I said house. in my family home. And at that time it was all very confusing because I would watch movies, TV, stuff like that, and nothing educates you on spirit and source at that age. It all educates you on what's happening in the movies, so it's a ghost or it's a boogie monster or it's something, and so I was very confused in all those ways, and I couldn't really ever explain it properly to my parents in terms of why I was so afraid to go sleep in my room by myself at night, because I could feel the presence of what I now understand to be my spirit guides and my past loved ones, but at the time I didn't know why there were these people in my room that my parents couldn't see, and why they were watching over me or why they were there. So I would, like under the sheets, I would now I have like neck problems because I've held so much tension from a young age in the shoulders, trying to, I would just lay in the sheets still, breathing really shallow because I didn't want them to know I was there, or to, to make any movements or anything like that. So it was all confusing when I was little, and then I shut it out all through my schooling because no one understood it. It wasn't normal. I just wanted to be a normal kid. I already had trouble enough trying to fit in because, I was in a different world most of the time. My mom always said, like, oh, that's my kid, she's from another world, because I would be off with the fairies all the time. And so even though I shut my gifts out through schooling, I always held this one vision of the woman I was going to be and how my lifestyle was going to be in, my later years. I always knew I was going to own a business and travel a lot and be very independent and abundant and have a large reach and things like that. And then I left school at 16 because I knew that school and university just was not essential to my life's path. It taught me the simple things that I needed to be a human being, but it was not, and that's not me just being a teenager and being like, I don't want to go to school. It was just like I could feel in my soul that it was just totally fine to leave that be. So I left, got my own life experience. I started working from 14 up until 20, and moved to Australia with my partner at the time at 18, set up a whole lifestyle of what society taught us to set up. We had good jobs, a house that was beyond our means, dog, nice cars, shopping all the time, all this stuff and material success, but realized that I wasn't, I thought I was happy, but if I wasn't feeling that great, I'd go shopping, or it was just kind of like humdum, like this is all right type of thing. And then one night I just had this experience where I had a flashback basically to a past life of having a heart attack. I didn't know that that's what it was at the time, but basically I was having this experience where mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I was reliving that experience, that heart attack, but not physically. And I was just freaking out. I was saying to my partner, like, I'm having a heart attack, but I'm not. Something's happening to me, like something's wrong, like just freaking out, not being able to breathe properly, like just everything was really strange going on, really anxious and all this kind of stuff, and it kind of calmed down and went to bed. And ever since that night, it's like my soul, my spirit team, the universe just said, like, okay, everything's going to be reactivated now. You're going to get back into your gifts. You're going to get on your purpose, and it's all going to happen from this point forward. There's no turning back into this humdum, okay life. And so I thought for 2 years that I just had chronic anxiety because I went into this sudden place of constant overwhelm of trying to process all these energies, all this information, all of these experiences, just even the clairvoyance, the mediumship, the psychic abilities, the empathy, the sensitivity, everything came back on like full blast, and I had no idea what to do with it because it was so overwhelming. I couldn't step inside a mall without feeling dizzy and sick because I couldn't deal with the amount of energy, information, not only the people that were there, but the people that came with those people in spirit. This is just this, just one example, but there's so many experiences where everything was so overwhelming. I didn't know what to do with myself. And I went to a doctor to say that I had anxiety or something was wrong with me, that I couldn't handle it because I was having suicidal thoughts with all of the overwhelm. It was just too much. Prescribed me antidepressants, and then all these messengers came to me through, my boss at the time, different people just saying like, no, this is not the way you're going to heal. You're not going to put a sticky band on it like a plaster. This is not the answer. It is to some people, but it's not for me. And so I didn't take the antidepressants, and I kind of remembered my love for clairvoyance and spiritual stuff and all these cool magical mystical things. So I started going to clairvoyants and healers and meditation groups, and getting into crystals, and I read like every Hay House book that I could find on spiritual things. And because every time I connected with that, it's like the anxiety just dropped away for a moment. It's like I went into this space where it's almost like that experience of the anxiety didn't exist, time didn't exist, stress didn't exist. It's just like I went into this space, and everything started to remind me of my soul, my gifts, how to utilize them, how to connect in, how to tune in, how to understand the empathy, the sensitivities, all this kind of stuff. I started astral traveling and lucid dreaming nearly every night, and having all these incredible out-of-body experiences, reconnected with my spirit guides, and just, learnt the certain things, say like Reiki healing and reconnective healing, and utilizing my gifts again, and all this kind of stuff. And then with each step of it, the anxiety just started to drop away, to the point where I was observant. Rather than being in my life, I was like observant of my life, looking at it and going, it's just not, like, if I looked at every aspect of it, I was just like, that one's out, that one's out, that one's out, that one's out. Like, it's just not reflective of now where my soul needs to be in each area of my life. It's, it's just kind of, I was like, I don't like my job. I don't want to work for someone else. I've always known that I'm not meant to work for someone else. I don't like my relationship. It's just not, it doesn't fulfill me. I don't like where I live. It was just all these realizations of like, actually, I don't actually like anything of what I've created, even though it's successful in a materialistic way. I was like, I just don't actually like any of it in a fulfilling way. So I left it all. Left my job, left my partner, left my home, moved back to New Zealand, and just spent some time on myself and started running. I knew wanted to share what my gifts were, so I started running meditation classes, and I started channeling the meditations and the teachings and the workshops, and then they just expanded and expanded and expanded. Then I realized I could do my readings one-on-one. Then I realized I could do readings online and reach people globally. And then I realized I could do all my teachings and all my readings and all my mentorships online and travel the world. And so it all just kind of, like I was saying earlier, it all just evolved once I put my foot in that direction. And now I'm completely free of anxiety in every way, because it was like an awakening, like something inside me going like, okay, bam, like everything's back on now. We're reactivating everything. And you don't really have a choice. Like, you're going to find it really hard to resist what your soul's calling is, and you're going to have a really hard time if you ignore this. But if you follow it, you'll completely realign with bliss. And that was, now it's all just kind of continuing to go on that momentum, and loving the traveling and feeling called towards the book, and starting as a radio host and things like that. So just as an example of what we're talking about earlier, it's, it all unfolds if you just kind of trust it, and that you see it as its own journey that already knows the perfection of, or the divinity of its timing. Yeah.
And I'm getting this picture of two things. This morning I got the message that the biggest breakthrough is a breakdown.
Yeah, definitely.
People think breakdowns are horrible, but when you hit critical massive activation, which is what happened to you, and something just had to give, that things weren't working anymore, and you synchronistically were ready to step into activation, I think that's when the breakdown occurred. Same thing kind of happened for me as well when I was 20. I'm just trying to think, my age was 20. And I was, similar. I'll share my story another time, but what the other thing I got was that at that time, it feels like internally, I see a sponge. So you're at that point of absorption where everything's going to go. And if you don't fill the sponge with high vibrational frequencies, it's overwhelming, because you can't cope with everything coming in. And so that creates us the anxiety, and it feels like that creates that for a lot of people who step into their empathic ability. It creates what I would call a spiraling out of the body, which is often the fluttering that we feel when we're in anxiety. It's actually our astral body flying out of our body. And then the alternative is when you absolutely thought, I'm going to just soak up everything I can to do with what I'm feeling I got to do. It's like you're filling the sponge, you're filling the sponge. And then you're expanding the sponge out so far out, like from within though, still, that you're able to look at everything and go, yep, nah, because that's not serving me, because you have the strength, like we were saying about before, like connecting with your light, same kind of thing, to go, can say goodbye to all that, because I'm not attached to it anymore.
And it's so easy. It's just like, you're not it. Bye. No. Like, exactly. Just no attachment to things, because it just, when you're in a certain place of, especially with, say, the breakdown or the anxiety and things like that, you get into the space of like being really super critical about like choosing things that either don't make you happy or make you happy. If you get what I mean, that's kind of like when you experience that extreme pain on like in a mental, emotional, deep level, it's like things that don't make you happy, it just, you know, it's just like, nah, like you just don't allow those things in your life anymore. It's like, I'm only looking for things that make me happy, because I've experienced how traumatic it can be to be so out of alignment, or, you know, to be at such a breakdown, you know. So it's you get super critical, like, yeah, I'm only doing what feels good to my soul, because I don't want to have another breakdown. I don't want to have the universe kick my ass again in order to get me back in alignment, because I'm going to live my soul's highest purpose. I can either, you know, align myself with it, or I can be sloppy about it and have the universe kick me up the butt a few times. So I'd rather just align from the start and only choose the things that feel good now. You know.
That's such a celebration though. Like, yeah, we become super sensitive about what we don't want to keep, but then also what we do want to keep. And then, God, you know, like you were just saying before, can it be this easy? Actually, yes. And it's joyful and just wonderful, really. And I think that that's such a gift that of hope, really, to give to listening, to say, you know what, it's worth walking through it. If you're at that critical stage where you just feel like you, welcome to the freaking club. We have been there, friends. Friends. You know, like, don't judge that as wrong, bad, something that you're not doing right. You're right trajectory for a change or a breakthrough that we know is absolutely, well, it is really glorious, because the reality is, once you go through that, you hopefully you feel motivated not to have to return to that, and that's,
it's like you can never go back. Yeah, it is really like that. It's kind of just like, I could never live a life that was according to society materialistic standards and not be happy, because to me that's just like slow death. You know what I mean? It's just like I can't look back at that and think that I could ever be happy in that, just for me personally. And yeah, I love one of my friends and I were talking about the other day was you know, sometimes it's how do I put it, it's kind of like when you get to that space where you're in that momentum, where you've got that alignment with, say, your soul purpose, or what you want to be doing here in the world, or relationship, or abundance, or freedom, or joy, and things like that. And sometimes, you know, people will come to me or to, you know, a friend, and they'll be in that kind of breakthrough stage, and you can kind of feel from them that they're like, oh yeah, you don't know what you're talking about, your life is just so easy, you're so lucky, and blah 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 blah, you know, and what could you have possibly gone through, especially at your age, and things like that. And it's just that that feeling of like, you know, just because some people seem to have, like, you know, that alignment, that ease, that joy, that abundance in their life, doesn't mean that it just turned up on their doorstep. You know, they've most likely been through quite a breakthrough, quite a breakdown and a breakthrough to get to that point. And yeah, I just think that's important to acknowledge as well, is that, you know, those of us who are teaching this enlightenment, this work, it's not because we're just along with fairy dust and we've got it all sorted out and the universe just kind of gave us this, you know, easy life. You know, everyone has that process of that, I guess, like the lotus coming out of the mud, or, you know, having the breakthrough, things like that. And I think that's really important to acknowledge as well. And that you don't know everyone else, you don't know other people's journeys, you don't know what anyone else has been through in that way. Yeah.
And look,
you know
hey,
what I mean?
Absolutely. I think, you know what, we're all human. We've been through shit. Come on.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, being a human being is so awesome, but it can be really crappy sometimes. Like, if you're a human being, you've been through shit. So, hey, around to everybody out there who are trying to pave the way for holding the space for people to elevate, like us. Kudos. And they're the people that I want to work with, because they're the people that I believe that that collective consciousness as a whole is rapidly awakening, It's like that 100th monkey syndrome where, you know, it gets the 100th monkey and then
yeah.
And there are recent events with different things that have happened that have really activated that. And I feel like, you know, the president election's one of them, like people going, well, we know we don't. You know what? We were just talking about that. Well, sometimes it takes to know what you don't want to start creating what you do want.
And sometimes it gets worse before it gets better.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's serving purpose. And feeling into that energy of that rapid expansion right now, where I know people feel into the energy of rapid hopelessness, because that's often where that breakthrough is that depression, hopelessness, and that anxiety. That's why it exists, actually. So I respect and honour the process and how hard that can be, but guess what's just about to happen, guys? It's like a freaking consciousness tsunami is about to hit the planet. And we are going to be ready for that. And so for me, I'm just excited that I get to work with people that are ready at this point in time to be able to help the collective, because that's such a joy. You know, I'm not in this for my ego, that's for sure. I'm certainly in this knowing that this unity consciousness that we're creating with being people that can hold the space for the collective consciousness to grow is extraordinarily a privilege and expansion for my enlightenment. For sure, without a doubt. That's where I'm getting the most of my enlightenment from. I don't know if you feel that, but I certainly feel that, you know, for myself, that's serving, that's how it's serving, certainly serving.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just with what I was saying before is I think what I was meaning to get to was, like, you know, if you're looking at these leaders or teachers or, you know, whatever they may be, authors, things like that, they're speaking about all these ways of which where you can kind of have that breakthrough and come to that point of enlightenment and ease and joy and abundance. It's like if we can do it, if we can get through our breakthroughs and we can you know, get through our breakdowns and our breakthroughs, then anyone can, you know, and to have that as an example, you know, and to just understand that everyone has their journey and their breakdowns and their breakthroughs, but if they've gotten through to the other side of it and they're wanting to help you, use that as an example of, if they can do it, I can do it as well. And then it's kind of like a the way I see, like, the collective consciousness working in terms of purpose is, you know, we're all speeding up the evolvement and the ascension process by having our own experiences and then passing them on through that process, you know. So that's why there's so many coaches these days, and so many leaders, so many people speaking and writing books, and so many people sharing their messages and having podcasts and everything like that. It's kind of like there's been this speeding up of rising the consciousness of the planet, because these people are having their breakdowns and their breakthroughs and then sharing that, so that other people don't have to take as long through their experiences, you know,
Absolutely.
and don't have to feel like they're in it on their own.
Yes. And I got told by Spirit that the other day is that people, like even in regards to the training I offer and stuff like that, I used to let people do one level and that's it. And they're like, no, they're so got to commit to the 7 levels, because that's where they're in a different zone now. Before it was more like they need lots of preparation. They're just ready. People are just ready to go bang. They got to do it.
Yeah.
Commit to yourself, like commit. And like you said, purpose is about committing. And I remember I heard you say that at the beginning, because for me, it is about committing. And I got that message through this morning, that they said, you're committed to what you do. Don't second guess yourself with details. Like, you know, be committed. So thank you so much for joining me. The hour has gone so quickly, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We could talk till the cows come
hours
home.
And hours.
Before we sign off, of course, I just want to make sure everybody can find you, Jessica. So please let us know what's coming up for you, any details with regards to your website or how your preferred social media contact.
Yes, yeah. So I love when people add me on Facebook as a friend, which is obviously under Jessica Reid, or my Facebook page is Jessica Reid Global Clairvoyant Channel and Purpose Fulfilment Coach. But my website is www.jessicareidonline.com. And my most exciting thing, you know, I always do my soul consciousness readings and my coachings, purpose coachings. But my most exciting thing that I've got going on at the moment is, you know, my one of my guides, Alicia, she's like my guide, my soul sister from home, is how I say it, from the Pleiadians. She has taught me a process called quantum leaping, which is a manifesting process with, you know, like step by step, customized ways that you can really shift your consciousness to actually manifest exactly what your desired reality is. So that is in my online shop at the moment, and it's at half price because I'm doing a launch promo at the moment. So if anyone wants to really look into manifesting that process, quantum leaping, that's my favorite thing that I've got going on at the moment. Definitely.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. And yeah, I'm sure we'll have more to do with each other in the future. And
yes, definitely.
The collective, all my guests and I, we seem to resonate. So it's, I remember Spirit saying, you have no idea what you're creating. And I'm like, okay. Yeah, because as a collective energy, I know we're here to serve the collective energy, but then as a collective of guests and people that are involved with this, I'm getting all teary. I don't know why, but yeah, there's lots of amazing things to come.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
So much.
Thank you so much.
And
love what you're doing.